I think academic philosophy is a joke, and that may sound arrogant, but I think I have reasons for believing it. We live in a society of experts. The system encourages expertise in order to discourage mastery. If you are proficient in your task, but in no others, or at least not in the task of synthesizing tasks, then you're useful in the system. You're an efficient part of it. There's no utility in individuals having a full understanding of things. In the 1800s, there were academic philosophers who attempted big, broad, all-encompassing explanations of reality. Schopenhauer, Nietzsche. And what I was inspired to say this by a video that I just watched. It's about, let me see, I can even link to it. Lawrence Krauss and Roy Sorenson on origins and nothingness. And of course it's this a science guy and a philosophy guy talking about nothingness. And this freaking tool, this academic philosopher, is so just clearly inept. He can't even point out the flaw in empiricism. He can't even recognize why empiricism alone doesn't provide a justification for understanding. Only theory can accomplish it. Philosophy and science, one believes theory can solve the problem, one believes empirical data can solve the problem. Empirical data is automatically flawed because it represents a perspective on things. We cannot step outside of perspective. Perspective is the application of inaccessibility onto being. Being exists, all existence exists, and parts of it are blacked out by inaccessibility to create a perspective, right? Now it doesn't sound like a technical description of a process, but it applies to all things. If you want to view a cube, you can't view it all at once. You have to only view a part and not the other. Otherwise, there's no differentiation of being. There's no phenomenal existence. Okay? So we're obligated to experience existence dimensionally because we have a perspective. But the things that we see automatically represent only a certain set. It's the anthropic principle states that we would find ourselves in a universe and on a planet that harbors life. But think about what that implies. I mean, given the physical universe, then sure, it's not such a stretch to say that it would take a certain type of planet to support life, and that we should find ourselves on that kind of a planet. But think of all the universes that could be. Think of all the laws of physics that could be but aren't. Why is it that there was such a universe where biological life, the most complex phenomenon in the universe that we're aware of, and we study the universe, we're the most complex thing. Why is it that the variables of physics are arranged in just such a way as to produce human life? The anthropic principle seems to imply that if there were a multitude of variables, then existence being phenomenal being from a perspective would arise with those sets of variables that are conducive to life. And there would be no one to experience the universes that don't have life in it. If that's not itself just the anthropic principle, does it not suggest that it's not just the one universe, and it's not just the one set of physical laws? So studying this particular universe can only ever study a part. In order to hypothesize and theorize about the way universes are formed and what they're formed from, you can only do that with philosophy. In this, I don't know which one is Lawrence Krauss. I guess he's probably a popular science kind of guy, but he has no conception of this. And whoever Sorenson is, he's not adequately responding to this basic presupposition that empirical data provides an adequate demonstration of the characteristics of the universe. It doesn't. It can only ever represent a tiny sliver. So that's why I think academic philosophy is a joke. I think that real philosophy has been going on, but because a real understanding of reality, a valid understanding of reality, is not useful to keep people in a machine, an expert machine, they need to destroy the tradition of philosophy. Philosophy is the one thing that is equipped to put what they're doing together. They. Sounds like a conspiracy theory kind of mindset, huh? It could be scary to hear that, I suppose. If I met someone and they were talking about, oh, that secret group is just more control, it would seem strange. But there are truths about the world. Like, a group of European bankers did essentially acquire more than half the world's wealth. Not just Europe's wealth, but the world's wealth. I mean, the Rothschilds in the 1800s were estimated to have half the world's wealth. And you think since then the share of the money hasn't disproportionately gone to those same elite group of bankers? I mean, it's not just bankers. Obviously, banking is the thing, economics is the thing that enables a group to take power. Because if you can finance your regime on the labor of the future, then you automatically induct all future generations into your system, no matter what you do, because it's going to be advantageous to the present, always, to sacrifice the future for their own benefit. We borrow now and live a disproportionately wealthy life in America in so that our children will have to pay for it, and they don't have a say in what we're doing. They're paying for legislation that they never had the chance to vote on. It's taxation without representation. That's what loaning. That's what financing a political system on loans is. But I was talking about academic philosophy. Yeah. So they do the same thing to philosophy that they do to everything else. They make someone an expert. They make the qualifications so specific that you're never going to have the full picture, and you're never going to see what they're doing to you. I mean, even economists, that's what's scary. Economics is such a narrow discipline that removes itself from philosophy, even though economics is the philosophy of human behavior. That's what Austrian economics recognizes that Keynesian economics does not. Keynesian economics sees itself as a expert discipline, a science. That's not all it is. But even these economists, these experts, they get trapped in the tradition of the academic field they're in. There's really no way to escape it. If you want to succeed, you can't challenge the basic assumptions of the theory you're operating within. Especially when there's a huge financial incentive to keep that theory around. I mean, Keynesian economics is what's used to justify fiat currency, the Federal Reserve, manipulation of interest rates, the kinds of things that make the rich richer and the poor poorer, those kinds of systems. Well, wouldn't the rich love to pay economists to have theories that support their getting richer? And if they knew that most people were idiots, wouldn't they try and change the direction of economics as an academic field to reflect what's advantageous for their power group? I think they would. I know I would if I was in power. And the same is true of academic philosophy. Philosophers who come up with essentially useless or pro-establishment ideas are allowed to get through. But the people who have radical views or true views, which they are one and the same in most cases. Let me qualify that. People as a species tend to believe around the average of the opinions that are out there. Most people are about moderate at the moderate level in their political beliefs. That's because we aggregate what the opinions around us are, and then most people reason by saying, well, people seem to think this is right. That's how the average person reasons. They don't actually look point by point, why should I believe that freedom is better than equality, or why should I believe that, the authorization of force for a select group to kidnap and punish those we disagree with, is that legitimate? They don't really think about those kinds of things. They just say, well, it seems like everyone else is. I'm getting a little scatterbrained. I think I should stop. Academic philosophy is a joke.